Now we've got what on the face of it looks like a fairly short question, question 7. I know that this is one that when my class came out of the exam, they were telling me about it, and it's maybe a little bit unusual in that most years when this has come up, it's a two-part question, and you're asked to define the data structure. So, like in Python, that would be like the data class, depending on the implementation you're using. But effectively, this part is done for you because they've defined the record structure. What you're being asked to do is to use it. So you're being asked to create an array that could store 750 recipes. Now you're having to use the name of the record structure. So that's just like if I'd said at data class recipe. So we're using programming language to define the variable that will store 750 recipes. So if I call it something like recipe list, I think in the marking scheme they called it like all recipes. Doesn't really matter. If I say recipe list equals, and then square brackets in Python, recipe, which is this, that's the record structure. And then for I in range, however many there are, effectively a loop in here. Now I've been caught out with this myself, where you might have seen something like equals recipe times 750. That's only going to get you one of the marks. If you're doing this in Python, do it with like a loop like this. Something else that's important on this page, I'm just going to point it out now, is the names that have been used in here. So the names of the fields like ingredient and minutes, because when we do part B, we're going to need to use those exactly. So part B, users want to search. So in other words, we're going to do a linear search algorithm for recipes by entering the main ingredient and the maximum cooking time in minutes. Now, those fields in the record structure were ingredient and minutes. So when I'm writing code, it's important that I use that. So I don't call it like cooking time or main ingredient or something. I've got to use those. So the user's going to enter, for example, main ingredient pasta, cooking time 60 minutes, and then it would output possible recipes that would fit those criteria. If no recipes match the criteria, the following message is displayed: no match is found. Then, using a programming language of your choice, write code to display this information. Your answer should use the record structure provided. So that means that I've got to use those field names, and I'm going to use the name of the array on the previous page, which I called recipe list. First of all, then, if I'm doing a linear search, I'm either going to want a position or I'll set found. Because there's going to be more than one result, let's use found. So if I set found equal to false, then I need to loop through, and I know that there's 750 of them, so I could use the length of the array, or I could just loop 750 times. So for I in range 750. Now's probably the complicated bit with the if statement. So I need to check these two criteria, and I'm going to say if recipe list square bracket I, so in other words, if each recipe dot ingredient equals the search ingredient, so that's the one the user entered, and it's not an or because both criteria have to be met, and recipe list I dot minutes, because remember this is what the field was called, it wasn't cooking time. Minutes is less than or equal to search minutes or search time. Let's call it search time just for space. Then we're going to update the found variable because we found something that matches. So found equals true. And then we would print the message. So the message would be like the name of the recipe. So if I look in the previous page, it's called title. So it would be like recipe list I dot title requiring recipe list I dot minutes. So print recipe list I dot title requiring recipe list I dot minutes, because that's the value, and then the string minutes. There's going to be more than one thing found here, and that's fine. So we're not looking to use like a conditional loop and end this loop early or anything like that. But if there was none found, then we have to show a message. Now it's important here you don't use an else, because if I check the first recipe and it doesn't match, I don't want to instantly say, oh, there was none found, and then actually maybe on the second or third one you find a match. So don't use an else for a situation like this. Instead, you wait until the end of the loop, and after the loop, if found equals false, then you can show the message print no matches found.